However, the president clarified that he does not want to go to war with anyone, but only stresses the need to defend our country.
And while President Marcos did not specify exactly what this external threat was, he did say this amid heightened tensions in the West Philippine Sea. Just this Tuesday, Chinese media accused Philippine Navy personnel of destroying the fishing nets of Chinese fishermen in the Ayungin Shoal. But the AFP pushed back against the accusations, saying it was just China's attempt to distract the world from their illegal and aggressive actions in the disputed waters. Nakikita natin yung videos of sa Ayungin Shoal.
Hindi, sa ito sa kay Goyo yan eh.
Scarborough Shoal.
Sa Scarborough Shoal.
Shoal.
Scarborough. Hindi, pero kasi kahapon, we had Ray Powell here. Siya yung founder na Sea Light na nagde-detect ng Chinese vessels out in the sea. He says there has been activity over at Sabina Shoal. So ito nga, no, it highlights the need to be able to look at different parts of the West Philippine Sea now.
At kailangan talaga natin syempre ng gamit because as we know, hindi naman ganun kalaki yung ating fleet at napakalawak nung West Philippine Sea, South China Sea, kung nasan yung EEZ natin.
Yes, actually asset as a whole ng military. Kasi parang nung pinakita yung recent video ng China saying na tinututukan natin ng armas, yung barko nila, parang mas napansin ko, kawawa naman yung BRP Sierra Madre natin na nakadaong doon. Parang instead of yung firearms yung mapansin ko, yung kalawang ng barko, yung makikita mo. Diba?
Yun yung focus.
Nakakaawa.
Pero ito, alam mo, nagtataka rin ako kasi nga, yesterday, nung nandito si Ray Powell, naisip ko na lang bigla, no, na bigla nga lumabas tong video from us. Pero it was only released after mauna yung China mag-release ng video. And then naisip ko yung Aggressive Transparency Initiative natin. Ano nangyari? Biglang parang luma na pala yung video.
Why didn't they release it, report it in the first place?
Yes.
Yeah. Pero I'd also like to take note na si President Bongbong Marcos, sunod-sunod yung naging pag-visit niya sa iba't ibang mga campsites. Kung mapapansin ninyo, recently, iba-iba rin yung mga provinces na pinupuntahan niya. Pero usually, kapag pumupunta siya doon for distribution of financial assistance, kasama na rin doon yung pagbisita sa military camp and same message yung sinasabi niya. Laging merong touch about China issue.
So, and then, Mase, since ikaw yung nakabuntot kay President Marcos, ano daw ba yung reason nun? Or is it just normal, kumbaga, trabaho naman ng presidente yun? Siya naman talaga yung commander-in-chief. Should we look into that? Or should we read more into that? Or not?
Wala naman sinasabing direkta na explanation yung Malacanang. But as we all know, part lagi siya ng mga events ng mga president. Even yung mga previous administration, kung matatandaan natin, si former President Duterte, mas lalo yun. Kasi ang priority niya talaga nung time na yun, bumisita sa military at saka yung mga police camp. Pero this time, I think recently lang nagsisimula si Presidente na bumisita sa mga kampo and the timing is very telling considering na mainit yung issue on China.
Well, during the time of President Duterte, iba yung focus ng military. It was more on internal security.
Yes.
But now we see a shift towards external. We see the president being more active in rallying our soldiers. Meanwhile, senators continue to probe POGOs and its possible links to criminal activities. This week, dozens of Chinese nationals were nabbed by immigration officials in a village in Parañaque and are now facing deportation after failing to provide work permits and other documentation. Ria Fernandez with the story.
37 Chinese nationals illegally working in the country were arrested by Bureau of Immigration personnel in multinational village in Parañaque City. The Immigration Bureau's operation came after homeowners in the village started expressing concern about the influx of Chinese nationals in their neighborhood. The office of Senator Raffy Tulfo also coordinated with the Bureau about these reports.
Most of these people, walang dokumento, walang maipakitang dokumenta at all. Nothing. Hingan sila ng passport, wala. ID, wala. Wala. So, anong ginagawa nila dito at paano sila nakapasok? Pangalawa, may mga nakapagpakita naman ng dokumento, working permit, pero yung working permit nila, hindi tumutugma doon sa nakalagay sa mga papeles.
Tulfo said it's also possible that illegal POGO workers are targeting to live in private villages and high-end subdivisions to escape surveillance from authorities.
Meron din mga nagre-renta dyan, mga Chinese nationals. Halimbawa, ang going rate para sa isang bahay doon, bungalow, say 50,000. Ipaparenta yan ng 400,000 pag Chinese. So, sisiksikin niya ng mga Chinese na dapat ang mga tao nakatira lamang dyan, say, dapat 4, 5 at the most. Titirahan niya ng 30, 40. Now, kung paparenta yan na overpriced, may mga kuha ng mga cut dyan. Pag sila sa mga exclusive subdivision, hindi sila basta-basta masita. Pag humingi sila ng search warrant sa korte, mahirapan, hindi basta-basta kasi exclusive yan. Ano yung mga gagawin mo dyan sa loob ng exclusive village?
Residents in Multinational Village welcomed the arrest of the Chinese nationals illegally working in their area. They're also hoping for authorities to do follow-up operations to ensure safety in the neighborhood.
We're not against the Chinese per se. It's just that we want to have that peace of mind that the people living, the Chinese people staying in our village are legit or legal aliens, di ba? Hindi yung undocumented and no papers at all. How many more of these undocumented and illegal Chinese nationals are staying in our village? Feeling po namin, meron pa sa mga, houses and all. Hindi pa po na-check.
The arrested Chinese nationals were brought to a jail facility in Taguig and will be facing deportation for engaging in business activities without a work permit. Senator Raffy Tulfo has filed a resolution urging the Senate to investigate the influx of Chinese nationals in Parañaque and whether it has ties to illegal POGO operations. Senators are currently deep in investigating POGO operations in the country, especially after shedding light into the case of Bamban Mayor Alice Guo. Committee on Ways and Means Chairman Senator Sherwin Gatchalian said the executive session with intelligence agencies revealed ties between POGO operations and criminal syndicates.
Kinilabutan ako no, dahil nga na-confirm ng ating mga intelligence agency yung kinakatakutan natin na lumalalim na yung ugat nitong POGO. Yung kanilang galamay umaabot na ngayon kasama na yung mga lokal na criminal syndicates natin. At hindi malayo yon dahil hindi naman natin pwedeng alisin na mayroon din tayong mga local organized crime dito. Yung mga nagbebenta ng drugs, yung mga KFR, kidnap for ransom, at base sa kanila, nagkakaroon na ngayon ng interaction itong dalawa.
With this, Gatchalian insists with fellow investigating Senator Risa Ontiveros that it's time to put an immediate ban on POGOs in the country. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
And with all that has been going on in the West Philippine Sea and the POGO industry, the big question now is, do Filipinos still trust China? And as it turns out, an overwhelming majority of Filipinos, 91% to be exact, distrust China. That's according to an OCTA research survey conducted from March 11 to 14. Only 8% of respondents say that they feel a fair amount of trust towards China. OCTA research notes an upward trend in distrust ratings of China among Filipinos from 2022. From 61% distrust rating that year, it steadily climbed to 90% in 2023 up until 2024. Filipinos also see China as the country posing the greatest threat to the Philippines at 76%. That's followed by Russia at just 9%, and then North Korea, Pakistan, and Japan with 2% each. OCTA's fourth quarter survey, meanwhile, shows that 61% of Filipinos agree with the Marcos Jr. administration's response to the West Philippine Sea dispute.
Here to talk to us more about their findings, we have with us on the show OCTA Research Fellow, Ranjit Rai. Prof, magandang gabi po.
Hi, good evening to all our televiewers and to you ladies, Shawn, Gretchen, and Maricel.
Good evening.
Good evening. Sir, una sa lahat, where can we attribute yung pagtaas ng distrust ng Pilipino towards China? Of course, there's the issue of West Philippine Sea, pero meron din kasing mga issue on spice and POGOs.
Well, it could be all of that, we didn't ask why in our surveys, but definitely a lot of it has to do with the tension, the tensions in the West Philippine Sea between the Philippines and China. And you have to understand that when you look at the survey data on trust, and you look at the survey data on support for the administration's actions, or response in the West Philippine Sea, they all happened during the Marcos administration, specifically July 20. The numbers increased in July of 2023. For example, when we talk about support for the Marcos administration's response in the West Philippine Sea, largely because the media was included. No, there was more information. The media was there to take videos of the harassment, and I think a lot of people became more aware. It also was seen in our surveys that Filipinos' awareness of the dispute in the West Philippine Sea also increased for the most part of July 2023. And when you look at the survey also, most Filipinos have, if not all Filipinos have a position on the issue. And it's fairly clear, no, that they distrust China and that they see China as the greatest threat to the country at the moment.
Okay, Prof, let's take a look at several numbers. This distrust rating started at 59 during the start of the Marcos administration, and then it went to 75 in February of 2022, tapos biglang naging 61, and then back to 70 plus level by October 2022. What exactly caused that dip? Yun nakikita natin yun, 75, 61, and 71.
Yeah, I think that was, I think if I'm not mistaken, that is February 2022. For the people who are watching, we've been doing this probe for the last almost 2 years, worth of surveys. We only released it today because we had a webinar with Strat-based ADR and the Australian Embassy. And we thought that we would slowly release numbers that we have been calling about the West Philippine Sea dispute and Philippine-China relations. And I think that dip in trust ratings, if I'm not mistaken, we're referring to the trust ratings, no? Or the improvement in trust ratings would be in Feb 2022 related to the fact that China opened some bridges. And so maybe there's some positive effect, no? But by and large, the trend since then has been deteriorating as far as trust is concerned.
Yung ba yung friendship bridge sa ano?
Sa may samal? Yung po ba?
Hindi sa Binondo.
Hindi, I think it's
Sa Binondo.
yeah, we're trying to find out, but
Okay.
what we do know is that this is in the National Capital Region where there's a
yes.
slight increase. This was the opening of the Binondo bridges. Do you
Ayun na
remember
nga.
that?
Okay.
That period, no, when the bridges were finally completed, Feb to April yan eh. So I think we captured that. But ever since that time, trust in China has been deteriorating. And now we have 9 out of 10, almost all Filipinos distrust China. It's a more expansive probe. We also look at, you see, one thing is to establish if there is a national security threat, no? The other was also to establish if there were also an economic threat. And in the same report we submitted to media, 44% disagree that China has a positive impact on the economy. So there's, it's a view. China is both an economic and, security threat to the country. So these perceptions have deteriorated, no? And it's up to some extent galvanized also. They become much larger majorities over time. And I guess it has to do really with the tensions in the West Philippine Sea and the more assertive stance of the current administration with regard to asserting our rights in the West Philippine Sea. So the change, the pivot of the administration, the change in policy and programs, I think all contributed to a heightened awareness of the tensions in the region and therefore a more negative view against China.
What is really interesting to me, Professor Ranjit, na-realize ko after going through the survey results that Filipinos are actually taking note. Kumbaga, hindi bingi-bingihan at bulog-bulagan lahat because lumalabas din that mataas ang suporta ng public sa approach ng Marcos administration na maging mas aggressive sa West Philippine Sea, pero hindi sila precisely pabor na puro violence lang at gulo ang nagyayari. Gusto nila meron ding diplomacy track. Can you tell us more about this insight? Kasi ang lumalabas parang nasa Class D and Class E yung mga nagbigay ng ganyang grade o punto. What can you tell us about that?
Okay, interesting. Although we don't have data shown to the public here, no? But we asked everyday Filipinos, no, our kababayans, if you were given a list of measures to prioritize, what would you what do you think should government prioritize to resolve the conflict in the West Philippine Sea? And the top three are: number one, 7 out of 10 Filipinos say we should assert our rights in the West Philippine Sea. That's an important point. Assert our rights in the West Philippine Sea by expanding naval patrols and troop deployment in the area. We're already doing that. Number two, we should obviously have a dual track, not just of expanding our military presence in the area, but also ensuring that we utilize all diplomatic and peaceful means to resolve the conflict. That's at 70%, 72%, yeah. And third, the top three kasi yan, the third is to modernize the armed forces, which also explains, because the government is doing exactly that, why more people now support or agree with the response of the Marcos administration when it comes to the West Philippine Sea.
Let's go to the other side of it with what the administration is doing now in terms of strategy in dealing with issues of the West Philippine Sea. Do you have specifics on which strategies Filipinos agree and disagree on?
Yeah, that's it, precisely it. We gave them a menu of interventions the government can do. And among I already talked about the top three. One is to assert our rights. That's the first thing. Assert rights through military action and through diplomacy. Third is to modernize our armed forces, improve its capability. Fourth is exactly to expand joint maritime patrols with our allies. Fifth is to expand the discussion about the dispute in the West Philippine Sea, and not just bilaterally but multilaterally. So Filipinos have a sense, although they may seem quiet, in the discourse at the moment, but they're talking very loudly in the surveys. The everyday Filipino has an opinion, and I think that's something that, apart from the actual opinion, and the trends, increasing trends of distrust against China, is the fact that Filipinos have an opinion in a time when globally citizens are apathetic. And I think that's something that's positive about what has happened. That everyday Filipinos are engaged and aware about the issue, and they have a position. And we have other surveys that have come out on the issue over the last 2 or 3 quarters, and it's been fairly consistent. There is no gray area as far as Filipinos are concerned. They support their government and the government's response in the West Philippine Sea. They disagree with the aggression being, utilized by China against our own assets, our own personnel in the West Philippine Sea, and that is why they distrust. That is why they say that China is the greatest threat for now at 76%.
But Prof, let me go back to the numbers. Kasi based dun sa survey ninyo, pinakamataas ang NCR when it comes dun sa having perception that China was the greatest threat in the country. 86% siya. And then next is Balance Luzon, before yung Visayas, and then Mindanao. And as what Shawn mentioned earlier, malaki yung percentage dun sa Class D and E, na malaki yung paniniwala na threat yung China. Do we have an explanation bakit ganon yung lumabas sa survey?
Well, yun nga, let's complete that image. Mas mababa ng konti. The only number below 70% was in Class ABC. Okay? But I think Class D and E, they see this as not just a security threat, but a threat to the economy. They also look at it as a threat to our kababayans physically. When you see pictures of our fishermen being harassed in the West Philippine Sea, I think it's not just become a political issue. It's become an emotional issue for many Filipinos. Of course, one can question if they actually truly understand the issue. And we know the issue is far more complex than what we see on television. But then again, they've decided to take a position on the issue when we ask them through the surveys. And for me, that's important. No? It's also important for us to inform our neighbors, our friends, observers in the area, how Filipinos think. That's why surveys are important. And by the way, our findings are not very far away from other surveys that have come out with the same data, although much earlier. So it's a fairly consistent view that most Filipinos distrust China at the moment because of what's happening in the West Philippine Sea. And they think about it as the greatest threat to the Philippines at the moment. And that because of that, they also have an opinion of what government should do, what it should prioritize as measures. And because government is doing the top 3 measures at the moment in some form or the other, they have shown their support for the Marcos administration, at least majority. There are still people who are undecided. It's still an amount of them who are undecided. But definitely, the disagreement with the government's response is quite low now.
Okay. I was wondering lang, Professor, if you have any data points that would conversely say or show that itong distrust or mistrust sa China ay nagtatranslate into a higher trust in the United States. May ganun po ba?
Yeah, we have that data. Actually, it's the report that I gave out to the media. Yes, just to give you a sense, no, I'll just look at the data points here. I think right now, when you talk about trust in the United States, no, it's around 87%. Just to give you a sense, the trust for China is 8%, and the trust for the United States is 87%.
Okay.
For adult Filipinos. Now, you have to understand the deterioration in the trust ratings of China started in February 2022, where it was at its highest. We think it's because of the bridges now, but it started from 38, now it's down to 8. That was from February 22 to March 2024. It went down 30 points. So, it has really to do with the aggression that we're seeing in the West Philippine Sea, the intensification of conflict in that area. And Filipinos are clear about who they're supporting and their position on the issue.
Prof.
So it's not true that there's a dissonance as far as the public is concerned when it comes to the West Philippine Sea. I think there's hardly any gray area here.
Prof, gusto ko lang clarify, no? Kasi I understand China is viewed as a security threat, but the economic threat, what does that mean exactly? That Filipinos view China as an economic threat? Or that they view the
that's what the survey
response?
results are saying, 44%, nearly 50%. It's also in the report that I submitted to the media, but the proper interpretation is this, that 44% of Filipinos do not see China as a positive impact on our economy, and it's been increasing. But it's to a lesser degree, there's still room, no? Although the number of people who actually think that China has a positive effect on the economy it is in single digits na lang, no? I think it's around so if 44%, no, I'm sorry, if 44% disagree that China has a positive impact on economic relations, only 13% agree. So it's so when you look at the threat perception, people see China not just as a security threat because of the maritime tensions in the West Philippine Sea. They're now seeing it as a threat to our economy. Of course, the reality is China and the Philippines have robust economic relations, but this is how Filipinos perceive China now. We don't know if the influence is because of POGO, because the POGO story did just start escalating because of the Banban controversy. We've had controversy with POGO for quite some time now. So people probably perceive that as one of those issues, negative impact of Philippine-China economic relations. But of course, we serious observers also know that China-Philippine relations, economic relations is robust on many other fronts.
Yes,
We're trading with them. China is an important economic partner. But it's important to note that this is how Filipinos perceive, rightly or wrongly, this is how they perceive the economic relations, the economic impact of relations with China. So 13% say it's positive, 44% say it's not, and the rest are undecided.
All right. Maraming salamat. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, sharing with us those numbers and interpretations. OCTA Research Fellow Ranjit Rai.
Thank you.
Up next, what is this so-called flirt COVID-19 variant and what should we do to avoid it? We'll ask DOH spokesperson Assistant Secretary Albert Domingo when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News. From the Sorsogon region in central Mindanao with 21 rabies cases. This was followed by 18 cases in Calabarzon and Bicol region. 92% or 156 out of the total rabies cases are from dog bites. 10% or 6% are from cats, while 3 are said to come from bites of other animals. The DOH once again reminded the public to vaccinate pets and immediately get vaccinated if bitten or scratched by them. In a press conference last April, Agriculture Secretary Kiko Laurel said around 22 million dogs and cats should be vaccinated against rabies in the country. He also stressed the need for a budget of at least 110 million pesos. The DOH has since supported this call for additional budget allocation for the widespread animal vaccination program.
Still on the topic of health, the health department recently confirmed that the flirt subvariant of COVID-19 has been detected here in the Philippines, although regions nationwide remain at low risk for the virus. Joining us tonight to talk about this flirt variant is DOH spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Albert Domingo. Dr. Domingo, thank you so much again for joining us tonight.
Hi, good evening, Shawn, Gretchen, and Maricel. It's a pleasure to be with you again tonight.
Okay, let's just start off with the flirt variant. Anecdotally, people who have been getting COVID recently, medyo parang mas down sila for a long time. Recently, before that, I think yung Ministry of Health ng Singapore nag-warn na rin sa mga at-risk members of their population to get revaccinated. Can you tell us, Dr. Domingo, ano po ba yung flirt variant? Paano ba ito nagkaiba? And how afraid should we be of this new subvariant?
Yeah, thanks for that question. Although, admittedly, I always cringe whenever people call it the flirt variant. Kasi it sounds like it's not a serious issue. We call it the KP2 and the KP3 variants in the DOH, and also internationally. Singapore doesn't call it the flirt variant. Having said that, yeah, di ba kasi, I mean, just to put this out of the way, it's hard to communicate health risk. I always advise the media not to use it. But anyway, so KP2 and KP3. We do have the cases now here, and yes, there are anecdotal reports of heavier feelings and all. However, we see that the bed occupancy rates are still the same. They're still around, playing around 15%. 14% of COVID-19 ICU beds, 15% of total COVID-19 beds. This is important, Shawn, Gretchen, and Maricel. Kasi when we say that the variant is mild, we have the evidence with us. Even the hospitals themselves are saying they are seeing increases in mild cases, but their ICU beds are not getting filled up. And that is good news for us.
Okay, clarify lang natin. And then for those who are maybe more at risk, those who have other comorbidities, yung senior citizens, small children, are they also, as the usual case with COVID, are they more at risk for getting a severe case?
So the cases we are observing that turn out to be severe and critical, sila yung mga, to begin with, merong mga comorbidities. They were brought to the hospital because of something else. And then when they were tested at the hospital, the doctors found out that, incidentally, they also have COVID-19. So does that mean we relax? No, it only means that we also have to be careful, especially if you are part of a vulnerable population. But we did see, or we are seeing rather, the vaccines that were given to us from before are still protective in preventing severe cases. It's just that this variant or subvariant, KP2 and KP3, they're able to evade detection, meaning the immune system doesn't recognize them that fast, so they're able to transmit that well.
So, ASEC, paglilinaw lang doon, ibig bang sabihin, kailangan namin magpabakuna uli or may available na ba na vaccine to protect us from this particular variant?
Hindi rin kasi gumagawa yung manufacturers eh. You have to understand that the vaccine manufacturers are business people at the end of the day, and if they don't see a market, if no one is actually demanding for the vaccine, they won't be manufacturing. How do we know if there is a demand? If there is higher mortality and severity. Kapag mas maraming tao worldwide ang namamatay, ibig sabihin ng mga gobyerno mas bibili. Pero kung nakikita ng mga scientists natin, ng mga doctors natin, and also internationally na mild ang virus na to, ang subvariant na ito, at gumagaling naman ng kusa after 5 days, then there is no need to manufacture a new vaccine. But should they manufacture, we'll look at it and we'll cross the bridge when we get there.
ASEC, how are our numbers now? The number of cases, hospital utilization rate, and I'm also seeing that there was a 58% jump from May 21 to 27 and the previous week. Medyo malaki yun.
Let's start from the 58% jump, no? Kasi, di ba, mathematically, if you're coming from a small base, any increase will come out big, computationally. Should we be alarmed if 58%? Let's have a context, though. It's better to look at the status at the start of this year and also around 1 year ago, May 2023. Ngayon, ang average number of cases per day natin, new cases, nasa 319. Oo, totoo, tumaas siya compared to 202 the week before. But if you look at January 2024, we were actually hitting 500 cases per day. But there was no flirt, and there was no other, di ba? Alam mo, the way that the DOH sees this, kung hindi lang nagkaroon ng cute na pangalan na flirt, hindi siya magiging popular eh. Because we already did hit 500 cases per day last January. There was no cause for alarm. We hit 1,750 cases per day in May 2023. There was also no cause for alarm.
Okay, so parang it's coming from a really low baseline. So medyo nakaka-deceive.
Parang,
yung
parang
numbers.
namamarket pa yung
Oo,
virus no? Yung subvariant.
Exactly. Marketing ang nangyayari eh.
Pero kasi naman, Doc, di ba, parang kung yung Singapore Health Ministry nagsabi, so, siguro yung mga tao mapapaisip talaga, baka tayo din kailangan. So, I don't know why the Ministry of Health over there made an announcement. Pero for the mga at-risk individuals here, can we just clarify, no need to get revaccinated?
Booster shots?
Well, let me also praise Singapore for what they did. Number one, Singapore doesn't use the name flirt. If you look at their announcement, similar to the Philippine DOH, we try to avoid using flirt. Sumasakay na lang ako kasi talagang ang mga writers natin tuwan-tuwa sa flirt eh. So sakyan na rin namin. Pero if you see at how the Singaporeans do it, they don't use a flirt. But they did send a signal that there is a highly transmissible subvariant and we have to be alert. Being alert is different from being alarmed. And this is my way of answering the second question. Para sa mga vulnerable ba, kailangan ba silang mabakunahan? At this point, I mean, ng bagong bakuna, at this point in time, hindi pa natin nakikita yon because thank goodness, the subvariant is mild at hindi siya nag-i-increase ng severe cases. But the DOH is continually monitoring our data and also looking at bulletins from abroad, internationally. Kung magkaroon ng change, we will immediately change our advice. But for now, just be alert, don't be alarmed.
Asek, sa totoo lang, nagka-COVID ako, no? I think more than a month ago, my mom came from Vietnam. She came from traveling. Are there countries that we should avoid that have high cases of this variant?
Hindi rin eh. Kasi it's similar to me being asked a few days ago na, di ba, na-detect na nga natin dito sa Pilipinas, there are 2 AP2 cases in addition to 30 JN1, which is the parent strain, and 2 cases of JN1.18. In other words, yung mga new subvariants nandito na. So I was asked, and similar to your question parang saang lugar sa Pilipinas meron. In public health, if you know that a particular subvariant is highly transmissible, and especially if your borders are porous or non-existent, wala namang borders in between provinces in the Philippines. So there's no use actually saying where it comes from. But should you wish to find out where it comes from, even WHO itself already said it's actually worldwide. All the regions of WHO worldwide have already detected the KP2, KP3 subvariant.
Okay, Asek, if you would indulge me, right before we went to this interview with you, Maricel was reading a report about the higher incidence of rabies cases.
Sure.
Speaking of bakuna, saan po ba pwede magpabakuna ang mga tao? Because, I mean, I'm not so updated, no? Pero nagkaroon kasi ng isang time na yung mga ABC o yung Animal Bite Center, supposedly wala na raw rabies vaccine and then i-redirect kayo sa San Lazaro. So right now, at this moment in time, at present, saan po ba pwede mag-avail yung publiko ng rabies vaccine dahil napakamahal nito? Kahit ako, nakukuripot ako bayaran.
At ang dami.
At ang dami.
Paulit-ulit, yes.
Paano yun, Asek?
Yeah. First off, nakita rin natin yan, no? Humaba nga yung pila daw sa San Lazaro and the other big hospitals. Our preliminary analysis is mukhang nagkakaroon ng distribution problem. Meron po tayong bakuna in country as evidenced by San Lazaro being able to give the vaccines. And I would anticipate na baka ang RITM rin baka nakakabigay, the big hospitals. So it makes us wonder, and that's what we're checking on, na parang mukhang nagkaroon lang yata ng distribution issues. And in a way, it's also a silver lining kung ba't nagkaroon ng ganoon. We are seeing more consultations. Now, the rabies cases are all fatal. Pag ikaw nakitaan ng rabies, you will die. So, but the good news is, if you bring your animal bite, an animal bite is not necessarily a rabies case. Pag dinala mo ang animal bite for consultation, which we're seeing now, and thank you to you guys in the media na tumataas yung awareness, there's a chance to fight it off. Yun yung nakikita naming phenomenon. Tumaas yung demand, mukhang hindi yata handa yung mga centers na dun sa pagtaas ng demand generation natin. So we're gonna fix the supply distribution issue.
And Asek, ano yung nakikita natin na trend in the next few weeks or month? Kasi I understand nakaka-apekto sa mood ng mga dogs, cats, yung sobrang init natin in the past few months. Kaya sinasabi nung iba, baka naka-apekto yun doon sa pagtaas ng rabies cases. But now that it's rainy season, Ano yung nakikita natin na trend? May epekto ba yan?
Well, interestingly, it's actually the behavior of people na nakikita nating dahilan kung bakit dumadami ang rabies cases during the summer. Because more people are outside of their houses and exposed to stray dogs and cats. But I'll answer that question. Yung mood ng mga animals, I'm more concerned on how we handle them, pet handling. I'm a pet owner myself, and earlier today, I was asked by another media outlet what the DOH comment is on pet owners kissing their fur babies. So sabi ko, I love my fur babies, but I don't kiss them because if you know animal behavior, that's not natural. Or if they do it, parang they're probably signaling something else. And if they get pissed or they get irritated, the natural behavior of a dog or a cat is to scratch you or to bite you. And that's where rabies can actually come in.
Okay, well, actually, fur moms kaming lahat
Yeah.
dito, Dr. Domingos. Hinahalikan din namin yung mga aso namin. So, bottom line is, in the near future, distribution should be, kumbaga, more at pace with the rate of people getting consulted for animal bites, yeah?
That is correct. That is correct. This
Alright.
is like when a popular food chain parang was unable to supply the Happy Chicken without saying the brand. O,
Yes.
diba? Parang ganun yun.
Okay, sige. So, supply on demand. Maraming salamat as usual for taking the time out to join us tonight. Department of Health Assistant Secretary Dr. Albert Domingo. Maraming salamat, Doc. We're going to be pausing for a quick break. Right after that, controversial Bamban Mayor Alice Guo reveals her large net worth and liabilities. The details when the big story returns. Keep it here.
You're still watching the big story here on One News.
Residents of Canlaon City are facing a problem with their supply of clean water following the flow of Lahar from Mount Kanlaon, which recently erupted. Gio Robles has the story.
Lahar has replaced the fresh water that used to cascade down Bahi-Bahi Falls in the town of La Castellana in Negros Occidental. The Lahar quickly flowed into other rivers as seen in this video taken by a tour guide at Mount Kanlaon. In Barangay Biak na Bato, the Lahar overflowed into houses, reaching up to knee level. Although the area has been open to motorists, clearing operations continue. In Canlaon City, Negros Oriental, the traces of Lahar flowing from the volcano are still visible. Because of this, some popular tourist destinations in the city have been temporarily closed to the public.
Ganito kakapal ang lahar mula sa Mount Canlaon. Kung titignan niyo, ayan, sobrang lapot, parang simento, pero pinaghalong asupre at putik ito na bumalot sa mga bato.
Even trees and plants were not spared from the damage caused by the volcanic ash. The Lahar has also reached the natural springs in the area where some residents source their drinking water. And now, residents are concerned about their water supply and their health.
Diyan kami kumukuha ng uminom, pero ngayon hindi na po kami kumukuha kasi natatakot po kami. Lasa po ng putik. Ang lahar talaga para sulfur ng amoy niya.
Residential areas have also been warned against using water from the tap as the pipelines connecting to the houses were also damaged by the Lahar.
If contaminated ng lahar or sulfur po ang tubig, most likely magkakaroon ng GI problem, gastrointestinal problem like LBM, loose bowel movement, most likely will lead to dehydration.
The LGU has a mobile water purification system which provides clean water for evacuees and at least 100 homes in the city. But this is insufficient to meet the demand of affected residents. A mobile water station can only process almost half or 4,800 liters of the 10,000-liter demand per day. The LGU is now calling for assistance from the national government, especially as the number of evacuees continues to grow due to the Lahar flow. Among them is Nanay Marilu Patagatay, who has 6 children.
Tulog alis ngaw bala sa tubig. Tapos kami nakulbaan kay siyempre ang idaw init gid sa kagasungaw man. Mo ko kalapit ang daan sa amon balay sa bulkan. Kinakon mahimo gid nga malakat kita sa bakwitan.
The Agriculture Department is also assessing the agricultural damage caused by the Lahar flow. Residents remain alert as intermittent rains over Negros Island could again cause Lahar to flow from Mount Kanlaon. For News 5, Gio Robles, we are One News.
The camp of Bamban Mayor Alice Guo is appealing the preventive suspension against her. But along with this, Guo's SALN was revealed, showing a large sum of liabilities and net worth. Raynel Pawid has the details.
The legal team of Bamban Mayor Alice Guo went early in the morning to the office of the Ombudsman. Guo's camp appealed the preventive suspension issued against her.
Na sana i-lift na yung kanyang suspension. Napakahaba ng 6 months eh.
Guo was suspended to prevent her from influencing the investigation into her alleged involvement in POGO operations in her town. In their motion, the mayor's legal team argued that the Interior Department lacked solid evidence to file the complaint against Guo. They also defended that the POGO raided in March had complete documentation.
Bakit hindi niya i-issuean ng mayor's permit yun? Kung ang aplikante compliant. Kasi meron tayong batas na Anti-Red Tape Act tsaka yung Ease of Doing Business. Pag hindi ka nag-issue ng mayor's permit, ikaw naman ang kakasuhan. Ngayon, nag-issue siya ng mayor's permit, sinuspende naman siya.
Besides Guo, the preventive suspension also covers Edwin Ocampo, the head of the Business Permit and Licensing Office in Bamban, and Aiden Sigua, the Municipal Legal Officer. According to Mayor Alice Guo's lawyer, the mayor still wants to return to service. However, when asked about Guo's current state, it was mentioned that she is now in a daze due to the barrage of accusations being thrown at her. In a letter sent by Guo to Senator Risa Hontiveros yesterday, the mayor stated that she is aware of the rumors claiming that Lin Wenyi is her real mother. However, she asserted that this is a lie. According to Guo, her real mother is Amelia Lial. Consequently, Guo's camp is once again calling for Amelia to come forward.
Kung mahal mo yung anak mo, lumabas ka, tulungan mo. Ikaw ang makakapagpatunay sa buong Pilipinas kung ikaw talagang nanay niya.
Guo's camp also challenged those who insist that the mayor is a Chinese national.
Ilabas nyo yung Chinese passport, ilabas nyo yung Chinese birth certificate, ilabas nyo yung mga Chinese na nakakakilala sa kanya.
They also answered the question of where Mayor Guo's immense wealth came from. The senators are puzzled as to its source. Based on Guo's latest statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth or SALN in 2023, the mayor has a total liability of 189.63 million pesos and a net worth of 177.55 million pesos. Listed in Guo's SALN were 9 properties in Bulacan and Tarlac, dump trucks, jewelry, and shares in several companies. Also included was the helicopter that she mentioned in the hearing, which she had already sold to a British company.
Yung bulk of the money na ginamit niya sa helicopter galing sa tatay niya. Ang tatay niya may pabrika sa China ng fabrics.
Guo's camp says they are prepared to file a cyber libel case against the individuals claiming to be relatives of the mayor, as well as those implicating the mayor in money laundering.
Speaking on 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, Attorney Stephen David, legal counsel of Mayor Alice Guo, maintained that most of Guo's assets came from her father. David also emphasized that it is permissible for public officials to correct their SALNs, especially if they were not familiar with the process before assuming office. David mentioned that Guo corrected her SALN based on advice and that the purpose of the SALN is to prevent the concealment of ill-gotten wealth.
Kailan na naman siya naging mayor? Yan naman na-acquire niya bago siya naging mayor. Most of it, bulk of it, lalo na yung sa chopper, galing sa mayaman niyang ama na mayroon factory ng fabric sa China tsaka dito sa Pilipinas. Kasi ang importante lang naman i-declare mo Kasi ang SAL, ang piniprevent dyan yung mga ill-gotten wealth. Kung meron kang ill-gotten wealth, hindi mo din i-declare.
All right, just like that, we've run out of time. But before we go, time for our big picture for tonight. What you're seeing now are screenshots of theater legend Lea Salonga. She is finally getting immortalized as a wax figure at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in Singapore. In a video posted on the Madame Tussauds official Instagram account, Lea Salonga can be seen meeting the team and getting her measurements done for the figurine. She will be joining several Filipino celebrities who have their own wax figures, including Pia Wurtzbach, Catriona Gray, and Manny Pacquiao. With her well-decorated career spanning over 45 years, Lea Salonga is best known for her iconic performances as Kim in Miss Saigon, the singing voice of Disney princesses Jasmine and Mulan, and as the first Asian to play Eponine in the musical Les Miserables on Broadway.
Parang long overdue na yung
Oo, yun na nga.
Diba?
Ngayon lang.
Kaya nga.
Pati yung pagiging national artist Dapat
yeah.
mahirang na rin siya.
Totoo.
Pero I think she still has a lot of time left. Medyo bagets pa rin si Lea Salonga when you see her now. Diba? She's been around forever.
I saw her perform lately in the opening of a huge casino. And her voice was still the same. I mean, her ability to maintain that quality, singing, timeless songs.
Yeah.
Parang Disney pa kayong kinanta niya nun Parang, wow, ang galing.
Discipline.
Disciplinado.
Legend talaga.
Okay. Congratulations, Lea Salonga. More reasons for us to visit Singapore, no? Pag nagawa na yung figurine niya. At makapag-picture kay Lea Salonga. But that's it from the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in and have a good night.